Bastet, a short story by Michael Chu. After days of lying in wait, Anna's target had appeared in one of Cairo's opulent ancient palaces. Abdul Hakim was a king in his own right, one who was using his power and influence to squeeze the life from the city, making himself and his followers rich in the process. But before she had her chance to capture him, the first ghost appeared, Jack Morrison. Though he was masked and had assumed the identity of a vigilante, Soldier 76, she recognized him immediately. The world believed that Morrison was dead, killed in the destruction of the Overwatch base in Switzerland, but Anna had her doubts. Though Jack had escaped death, a specter followed behind him. The Reaper, a killer clad all in black, his face hidden behind a bone-white mask. Reaper had confronted Jack, and Anna had leapt to his aid. She had subdued Reaper, wrestling him to the ground. But when she had stripped off the ghoulish mask and seen the ruin of a face beneath, she recognized Gabriel Reyes, a friend and comrade she'd known just as long as Jack. Gabriel proved to be the real Phantom as he faded into the air, disappearing like a whisper. She was left with the revelation that Gabriel and Jack, two men like brothers to her, were not dead. In fairness, they thought I was too. She took a deep breath and surveyed the scene. Bullet marks patterned the walls, tiles on the floor were cracked, and the bodies of the manor's security guards, muscle for Hakim's illegal enterprise, were splayed about like children's toys. At the heart of the courtyard, Jack stood impassively. "I got them all," Jack said as he rifled through one of the fallen mercenaries' belongings. A guard on the ground between them groaned, and in a flash, Anna drew her sidearm and fired a sleep dart into his neck. "You missed one," Anna said. Jack gave one of his good guy shrugs. "It's nice to see you too, Anna." Anna engaged the targeting visor from underneath her cowl. The heads-up display failed to activate. She flipped it back up, annoyed. "Any idea where he went?" Jack activated his visor and scanned the area. "Not a trace. Something to worry about later." "That doesn't look good," Anna said. Jack had been shot right beneath the giant numerals 76 on his jacket. As she took a closer look, she could see that the jacket and his flesh had been ripped apart by a shotgun blast. From that range, it should have killed him. But Jack had certain advantages. His wounds could heal themselves, a legacy of his past as a test subject and an enhanced soldier in the American Armed Forces. She could already see the pink of new skin forming at the edges, but not completely. Where it looked the worst, his flesh had turned necrotic and black. "I'll be fine," Jack grunted. "It just takes us some time." Us, Anna thought. Jack was adapting quickly to the knowledge that his former best friend was still alive. Or did he already know? The faintest sound of approaching sirens interrupted her. "We should get going. Sounds like someone's noticed." Jack nodded. "Lead the way." An hour later, Anna and Jack crouched in the shadows, watching as hover taxis zoomed by and a pair of civilians riding robotic camels made their way down the street. Overhead, skiffs and surveillance drones crisscrossed the sky, the former carrying the well-to-do of the city to their afternoon appointments, the latter mobilized by the shootout in Hakim's palace. Anna navigated the narrow alleys, finding the routes through the labyrinthine tangle of streets and pathways, keeping an eye out for the patrols that circled like hawks. For once in her life, she was grateful for the city's patchwork infrastructure, still recovering a decade after Overwatch's intervention. The state of Anna's home country was one of the reasons she had been drawn back to it. She felt responsible for Overwatch's legacy here, whether it had been her choice or not. In the shade of one of the massive, derelict cooling towers, the heat from the oppressive afternoon sun was a little more tolerable. It didn't bother Anna, but Jack seemed to be laboring. His genetic enhancements should have helped him acclimate to different conditions, the same way they should have stopped the blood that was seeping through the shirt he tied across his midsection as a bandage. "You need to take better care of yourself," Anna chided him. "You sound like Angela," Jack grunted. Anna waited for a police car to speed by, lights flashing, and then she signaled him forward. "Think they're looking for us?" Jack wiped the sweat from his forehead. "Most likely," Anna said, squinting at the car's retreating form. "But there's a lot of crime here. The police are busy. Another part of our legacy." Jack had fallen behind a few paces, leaning against one of the walls. "Reminds me of Prague." "I'm not carrying you this time," Anna said. "Come on, Jack. Keep up." She dashed out of the shadows and across the street, feeling the full blast of sun above and the heat baked into the stones beneath her. Back in the shadows, she continued. "Prague was your fault. Why you ever thought Reinhardt could be stealthy is beyond me." Anna waited for Jack to defend himself. When he didn't reply, she turned around. He had collapsed on the paving stones out in the open. Not now, Anna thought as she ran back to him. She tried to pull him up. "Wake up, Jack," but he gave no response. Anna slung Jack's arm over her shoulder and lifted him, carrying him down the alley. Jack drifted awake. That wasn't normal. Even before the army, he'd always been a light sleeper, starting awake at the slightest disturbance. His eyes adjusted rapidly to the dim light of the room as he sat up. He was on an old military surplus cot with a threadbare blanket. His side ached like hell. Finally, Anna walked over, silent as a stalking cat. "Tea? I'll take whiskey if you have it." Anna rolled her eyes. "Yes, Jack, I happen to keep a bottle around just in case you show up." "Tea's fine," Jack said in a smaller voice. Anna stretched her shoulders. "You know I had to carry you all the way here. I've been shot plenty of times, it's never felt like this." Jack grimaced as he shifted, twisting around to get a better look at the wound. 3 large gashes crisscrossed his back and sides, but they'd been stitched together with dark thread. "There's something very wrong with that wound. We should probably take you to a doctor." Anna moved to a low table with an induction burner and placed an ornate gold kettle on one of its 2 heating pads. "I don't think a doctor's going to know how to deal with this." Jack looked grim. "Dr. Ziegler's not too far away," Anna suggested. "But I'm not carrying you." "No doctors," Jack said, "and especially not Angela. How would we even begin to explain this to her? I doubt she'd want to see us now. 2 lost ghosts." "I tried stitching you up myself," Anna said apologetically. "I never was much good with field dressing. Didn't need it very often." He ran his finger over the jagged stitches. "Looks like a butcher went at it." "Well, you can take care of yourself from now on if you like." "It's a little hard to reach," Jack said sheepishly. "Then don't complain." Anna paused. "And shouldn't that be healing itself?" Jack nodded. "It should be. Maybe the shells were laced with a biological agent." "You're sure you don't want to see Dr. Ziegler?" "We'd have to explain to her that we're not dead," Jack said. "She's the miracle worker. She's probably used to it by now." Anna laughed. "No Angela," Jack said, and that was that. He looked around at Anna's home, as it were. It was a mix of tactical equipment, military surplus, surveillance drones, and some light touches of domesticity. The space was more archaeological site than apartment. Ancient stone chambers with worn stone columns, and the walls had been carved with hieroglyphics, though some looked like the work of more modern vandals. On a low table, Anna had set up a little display of ancient objects that had been carefully preserved. A jar with a ram's head lid made of pale, milky stone, a black and gold mask bearing the visage of a fierce cat goddess, a chipped vase of brown-red clay, and a small, brilliant green figurine of a falcon. Jack took a closer look at the antiquities. "This place reminds me of a museum my mother took me to in New York when I was a kid." It had been one of his favorite parts of the trip, running around the transplanted ruins of an ancient Egyptian temple. He smiled at the memory. Anna offered him a blue mug with a red plaid pattern. "It's a necropolis, a city of the dead." "Appropriate," Jack chuckled. He motioned towards the small display. "What are these?" "I found them when I moved in. I couldn't very well throw them away. These relics have survived thousands of years. Empires rose and fell, and they're still here. I figured I should take care of them before I sent them to Dr. Faisal." Jack blew gently on his tea to cool it. "You've been here the whole time?" "Ever since I left the hospital in Poland." Anna watched as Jack sipped his tea. He made a face at the bitterness. "Any sugar?" Anna ignored him. "When I woke up, I didn't remember who I was. I had no name to give them, so they called me Janina Kowalski. You're Jane Doe. For months I sat in the hospital room in pain and confusion. Dr. Lee told me I was lucky. Well, as lucky as you can be after having glass and shrapnel embedded in your skull." Anna felt the phantom pain of her eye even as she recounted the experience. "We tried to find you," Jack said somberly. "I used every resource at my disposal. Gabe even put McCree on it personally. Not a trace. Everyone else tried to convince me you were gone and that I was being irrational. But deep down I knew that you couldn't be dead. And I was right," Jack thought. "Dr. Lee kept me out of the system. I convinced her some dangerous people were after me." "I'm dangerous?" he asked, playing innocent. "You're a kitten, Jack." Anna laughed. "Eventually I was able to piece together what happened. But I don't know how much of it is real and how much I filled in the blanks myself. I remembered the mission. We were pinned down by the enemy sniper and I was trying to flush them out. I remembered lining up the shot. But it was almost like there was a reason why I didn't want to remember what happened next." Jack looked down into his teacup. "It was because I recognized that sniper," Anna said, studying him carefully. "You already know this." "Amélie?" Jack said. Yes, he had learned that and more over the years, but he left it unspoken. "Poor Gerard," Anna sighed. The pair sat in silence for a while as the steam drifted lazily from their cups and dissipated into the dusty haze of the ancient room. "Why are you here, Jack?" Anna asked at last. "I never forgave myself for leaving you behind. I heard about a bounty hunter in Cairo, and I hoped." Jack set the mug down. You're never good at letting go, Anna chided him. Too stubborn for your own good. Gabriel is out there. Talon is getting more powerful. They need to be stopped, and everything that we've suffered, everything that you've suffered, needs to be made good on. I'm going to take them apart, piece by piece. Jack's impassioned words echoed off the stone walls, and he had clenched his fists. He slowly released them. But I can't do it alone. I need your help.